Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Ooh, it's 2:20 on the clock. But how my phone reads, it's like 0220. It's weird. Let me show you. You see that? So it's like a mirror effect. But today is Thursday, February 12th, 2026. Um, yeah, 2222 could be significant to start. Today I'm using Intuitive Kev's iKev Tarot deck just because that's what I felt guided to do. And I'm really looking to kind of channel some love energy. We're 2 days off from Valentine's Day for whatever that's worth to whomever. But I kind of wanted to, I'll probably do another message by then or before then. But it would be nice. Hey, it's never too early to channel love, right? So I'm open, but that is my intention. So we'll see what happens. All right. All right. Let's see. Oh, Jesus. What a way to begin. Five of Cups. Oh, man. There's um, something sorrowful here. It's definitely not the frequency you want to be in regarding love. If anything, that's some type of grief. Yeah, like grief or remorse or regret, maybe, perhaps. And it could even be the release of the past, because with the Five of Cups, there's always that past future effect where the subject in the card is focused on the cups that have spilled, but there are two more cups behind. And I mean, if there's some semblance of hope in the card by itself, that means that regardless of past heartbreaks, um, disappointments, maybe even betrayals or losses, just losses in general, there's still hope for a future of togetherness and finding a ideal situation that you will be on the same page with, similar to the Two of Cups card, where it's two people that where the feelings are mutual, or a situation that is ideal or conducive to your personal happiness or fulfillment. So there's that. We're gonna take the upside, but here we go. Let's see. Oh, and by the way, I last video I did use my mic, or my new microphone, which I had clipped to my shirt. It wasn't fully charged, so I'm still trying to troubleshoot how I actually like this device. I can definitely hear the difference in volume, which I like, because you wouldn't have to turn me up, because I know I'll be kind of low sometimes. Um, but there was some static that I was experiencing every time I speak. Not when I wasn't speaking, but when I was speaking. So I'm trying to try out if that was because it was clipped to me, maybe it wasn't fully charged, and so that was a thing, even though none of that should really matter, especially if the mic is supposed to clip to you. So anyway, I have it clipped to my camera contraption, well, phone camera contraption above the desk, to see if that makes a difference. So just to let you know, you're kind of the guinea pig on the sound right now, in case things sound different or weird. Hopefully not too weird, but definitely different. All right, all right. Let's see. What's that? Page of Swords. Hmm. Page of Swords. So there's either a message or there's some information. There could be some information that is shared that in one vein could be disappointing, but like I said, it could also be severing of the past as well. So it's like two things can be true at the same time, where what you hear might not be pleasant or might not be favorable. Maybe the breakup itself or some type of disconnection here, but it ultimately does release you for some type of fresh start, or at least to be open for the possibility of something more promising. But let's see, what else with the Page of Swords? Chariot. Okay, yeah. That's promising with a big old seven there. Something to or something, or maybe some, there's definitely something to look forward to and even to move on to. That's definitely a swift. So it could even be like what what either was heard or shared or received, like information, news, whatever. It didn't take long to get over. Like a quick turnaround to move on. Or it could be like the anticipation of some, when you consider like hearing certain news that should be sad, maybe even unfortunate, and it is in its nature, but you may even be somewhat surprised yourself as to how quickly you're able to move forward, or how liberating just um, the knowledge or the certainty, the clarity. That's what I'm looking for. The clarity is, it's like in one thing you might want to mourn the past or mourn something that is coming to an end, but in another vein, it's like you kind of have to be a little bit grateful for it at the same time. Like, all right, well, at least I'm free from that. If it wasn't a good situation, if it wasn't ideal, if it wasn't requited, maybe I can move on to something that actually is for me. So it could be that even if it is, I mean, I don't know where a person could be. I feel like it's a mixed bag of either kind of like a word of preparation for news that may come through, or this could be reflective of what's already happened, and you kind of bounce back quickly, and now you're already um, moving on and moving forward. Let's say maybe even with a fresh perspective with the Page of Swords here, like it's kind of like who's that? Mystic Tory says something about like you might sometimes think something about what breaks your heart might fix your vision, or something like that. She says, Mystic Tory Tarot. I haven't heard her say it in a while, but I know this signature to her, as she's the only person I've ever heard say that. So it could be news that breaks your heart, but it helps you to, gain a fresh perspective of what would actually be an ideal way to move forward, to live your life even. Most of the time, people upgrade on the other side of a breakup. Maybe not immediately, but this suggests that, something pretty fast. But usually, if it wasn't the most ideal situation anyway, or it wasn't conducive to your highest good, or just to who you are at this present time, let alone who you are looking forward to becoming in the future. Usually, you after you get over the grief and the loss, you know, you upgrade pretty quickly, or pretty substantially, I would say. And it makes you better for that ideal situation or partnership or relationship, or just, makes you like a more ideal self, as you grow. And again, different perspectives. Okay, it's the two. Oh, okay. We got the Eight of Wands, which again is speaking to that fast movement. Then we got the Eight of Swords, which is just like feeling disempowered. So again, it could speak to. Let me see what's on the other side of the Eight of Swords, because it feels like the same. It feels like a confirmation of what I'm saying, except for I don't like the fact that the Eight of Swords is here. Like somebody swiftly, like direction does matter to me a lot of the times, but Chariot moving fast, the Eight of Wands is even more accelerated. There could be a lot of information coming someone's way. Maybe it's just a matter of like not having all of the details, and maybe someone not being sure of where something is going or their value in some type of dynamic um, up until a point. So, like I said, maybe this is like what's on the way, perhaps. Just the clarity and confirmation that somebody needs to free themselves from this Eight of Swords energy, be released or liberated in some type of way. Let's say. The Tower. Yeah, it's shocking. Something shocking. Maybe even like that. Here it is again. It's like some type of sudden change. Yeah, I feel like it's inevitable, especially given the transition that's underway right now. Like Saturn about to go into Aries shortly. I think the Tower actually is like Mars energy. I think it's conventionally Scorpio, but also say Aries too. Somebody had told me that. But anyway, yeah, it signifies something that is inevitable. So it could be again be that inevitable ending, breakup, disconnection, something, you know, the news itself or some information itself being the thing that just kind of like changes everything. It's like kind of blows up the spot. It doesn't always have to be a bad thing, which is why I think I'm here to say, especially starting with the Five of Cups, that although it might riddled with shock or may have a great shock value initially, um, it's for the best. It's for the best. It's like rocking a foundation that may have seemed fortified, stable, dependable, but then once it's blown up or it's shifted in some way, and you see like where the cracks were, you would almost be grateful, like, oh, well, thank God I knew, before maybe you were in the tower, or maybe you aren't. I don't know, but like before it was to the point of no return, because usually the tower is like a reroute, or like a reestablishment of sorts, and it's almost always to make way for something that is more stable, something that you can actually build on again, especially if we're talking about relationships or something here. I guess I did say, Lord have mercy. Well, that's a hell of a way to bring in the love vibes, isn't it? I said I was open though, so yeah, there could be some that are definitely facing, I guess, what would conventionally be the least desirable energy during a season such as this. Nobody wants to be going through a breakup, or maybe just experienced a breakup, or even feeling, lonely, or not, or feeling like you don't have any type of like partner or um, intimacy to look forward to during the season. Um, I don't know. Something could shake that up in a way that, for some, again, may not be delightful, but for others, even if it isn't delightful, it still is purposeful. there's that. But for others, it could be, you know, a sudden serendipitous type of moment or experience that is redemptive of the loss and the grief and the isolation maybe some have felt, circumstantially. It could be that, but let's see one more on the other side of that tower. I think I got space. Six of Cups. Okay. It could be redemptive. Like something that happens that, reclaims the time lost, the energy lost, the love lost. Okay. Could even be a surprise, a blast from the past, literally, with that tower. And the Six of Cups, a blast from the past that you didn't anticipate. Maybe some are gearing up for another single Valentine's Day, as if it really matters, in the grand scheme of things. But you know, I'm humoring the season and the holiday, if you will. Humor me, please. But maybe some are kind of gearing up, have doing what they've been doing, having their catering to themselves, pampering themselves, taking themselves out to dinner, or Valentine's Day, or Palentine, whatever. You know what I mean? Like doing the same. You've been used to the same routine, or it could be, like I said, a shift in a routine. Maybe perhaps for some where you did have a routine where at least you had somebody in your life, and now that potentially that may not be the case. And like I was saying, I don't think I fully finished the thought about the transit right now, but it's like so much newness right around the corner. Like I said, from Saturn transiting into Aries, starting a whole new 30-year cycle. That's going to have shifts for everybody that you probably already have been gearing up for, whether you know it or not. Um, and something's going on with Venus too, I believe. Is it in Jupiter yet, or is that Jupiter? I can't remember. Let me stop, because I read stuff like I'm not yet any particular like astrologer, or you know um, I'm not versed enough in that area. Like I follow astrologers that I like. For instance, the Peace Dealer is one that I love, and True Brilliance. She's really good when she's posting live, but she does a lot on her private channel, which I'm not a member. But I follow the energy because I think it's important. But that's the next frontier for me, to really hone in on my own um, knowledge, for self, where I can really speak to it confidently. So it's like sometimes when I read stuff, it resonates with me in the moment, but I might not always retain it to, deliver it properly. So pardon me in that regard, but please know I mean well. And any celestial body I mention, it's important. Even if I screw it up, it's important maybe for you to check on the transit for yourself and see where it is in your chart. But the point of the matter is not even just that, but we're about to be not, soon after we'll be at the doorstep of Aries season, which is officially the new year. We're about to have a new moon on the 17th, I believe. And then shortly after, we'll also be having what is it? What is it? Oh, eclipse season will be coming up. I think that might even be coupled with the moon that is coming. I'm not even sure, but eclipse season will be soon. So it's just a lot of turnover, um, closure from the past year, past cycles, past decades, even for some, and moving into something completely fresh and new that is not always easy for everyone to accept and to go along with. And even if it is easy, it's still, is reasonable that there would be some allowance for adjustment, So definitely be graceful with yourself, whatever it is. But anyway, I was saying all that to say what? That because everything is going to be happening pretty quickly, I think is what I was getting to the point of. Change as it always occurs during this year, but even more accelerated, perhaps most intense than we've ever experienced it, especially on account of that Saturn shift. So, you know, like I said, there ain't no telling what could surprise you and be that tower, like I said, a blast from the past or something that presents itself in a, I would say, in a familial way. I said familial, but I'm gonna say familiar way that it may not even necessarily be uh, like an ex or somebody that was already in your life. There's reservation for that for sure, but it doesn't. It's not exclusive to that. It just could be like almost a recall. I said redemption too earlier, so some type of like recall of a sweeter time in your life. With the Six of Cups, there's sometimes the highest frequency of that Six of Cups is something sweet about that card, where it's just two energies, sharing, um, sharing their feelings, share in the traditional. This is There's no people in this one, of course, but just sharing their emotions, maybe even being vulnerable. It could be a vulnerable time in all the best ways, especially if you're in the market for connection on a deeper level. So that could be the shock, not necessarily um, what, but who, or not necessarily who, but what or how this change occurs for you, and the emotional and psychological um, impact that it makes may be the surprise, But I would like to call it in as being the most positive change that could possibly be, even if it's not um, even if it's not, if it doesn't present itself to be so initially. But that's the thing about astrology and stuff. Astrology, what is it? You know what I'm talking about? The planets, the stars, um, the moon, and so on and so forth. Like, that's the beauty of that um, knowledge and information, is that sometimes it can literally give you a bird's eye view of how the elements are um, conducted through our material world, like how it's an impact and how it's also an energy conducted through us. And it can do that like I said, if you're well versed and educated enough, you can see very forwardly, and if you know how energy works, you can have a general idea of how to prepare yourself, for how to receive this energy, how to settle with it, how to um, move forward in the most productive and promising way, as opposed to when like you feel blindsided and there was no warning, there was no preview, there was no, and especially if you're in the midst of it and you're like, what is happening? You don't know what the hell is going on. You just going through the motions. Like it can really support you emotionally and psychologically, and even physically and materially, to kind of have a leg up. Like you, you still may never be able to fully foresee the the way life will play out. Because there's so many other elements at play, but you'll at least have an idea of the frequency of the time by way of those celestial energies. If you take stock in that, if you don't, sometimes you could leave it up to chance. Perhaps you could be strong enough to weather that those ebbs and flows just fine. But as humans, I feel like the divine put the map there for us to follow. And I'm not saying that I always do. I don't always check with the stars to know what's what or what's coming. Sometimes I don't even know where to look. That's why I'm saying I want to be more educated in that regard. But um, I do know who knows where to look, and I'll tap into those frequencies, as I said, Peace Dealer and others that I rock with, that I trust their insight and oversight, um, and even foresight to allow me to make my own interpretations of how that affects me in my life. But anyway, something there's blast from the past here. Hopefully, it's for the best. Or there's something, like I said, a returning energy that I would like to believe is going to be satisfying, something sweet, something that you would actually want to welcome. And even if it's like a matter of the timing, you didn't necessarily expect it. Like I said, you were just planning to do your own single gals thing this season or this holiday, not particular to for Valentine's Day, but generally, like you may have just been buckling in for the long ride of single, sexy, and self sufficient, and lo and behold, you're about to have a whole partner. And from the looks of it, it's going to be a surprise. Maybe even a whirlwind situation. Hopefully not frivolously so, but yeah, there's strength here. So I feel like you know there has been strength for some losses in the past that may have even like I said, made you stronger than you realize, more resilient than you know, to digest a new reality or change to a reality that may have not been in the plans or may not have been foreseen in some way or anticipated, but the strength is here. So that speaks to what you've already had to have strength for, and also how that resilience has now been um, stocked up or stored up for future times. Like we don't go through things, even as things as trivial seemingly as breakups. Like we don't go through things or heartbreaks and losses um, to break you down, strictly to break us down. But again, it depends on your intention and perspective as to how you see it, how you receive it. But for the most part, the things that we've lost, the experiences that we've encountered, especially the least favorable, the unfavorable ones, have, all purposefully been to build our resilience and our strength and our power and confidence. Definitely confidence. Yeah, let's see. For swords, yeah, rest easy on what you know. Not stressing about what you don't know or what's coming or what was. It's like this Four of Swords is a very present, um, surrendering energy, even submissives if you don't like surrender. Because I know surrender can be a bit loaded at times, especially when it feels like there's no choice, which there always is. But when it feels like a force, like you have no choice but to. With the Four of Swords, that there's an implication there that like the best you can do is kind of rest your mind, rest easy, maybe physically rest, um, because there's something that is underway that may not be holistically under your control. The only thing you may even be able to control, again, is how you perceive it. Um, and there may not even be much recourse for reaction and response, honestly. Like, it's except for just releasing, resting and releasing, and in this case, also rejuvenating. So don't be too hard on yourself if you need an extra nap these days. You're feeling a little more weary and little tired, more tired than usual. Because, like I said, these changes that are occurring, whether you subscribe to it or not, it's happening. Whether you believe it or not, it's happening. And it's not happening to just one of us, it's happening to all of us. So, you can submit to that and to however that transmission um, hits your life is conducted through you by way of information or actualization, or you can fight against it and ultimately then be forced to sit that ass down in the lower frequency of the forest source where, again, you don't have a choice, where you've exhausted yourself to the point of incapacitation almost. But she looks like she's sleeping pleasantly in that card. So that's why I say, this is a peaceful surrender, willing submission to the present. Judgment, yeah. Oh, it's three cards. I'm gonna take them out. That'll help me move through. It's the Hangman. I was just talking about surrender, and I was actually thinking about that card. Interestingly enough, we got Judgment here. We got the Hangman, and then we got the Knight of Wands. Yeah. So something's definitely, you know, there's the resolve yet again that not only is something closing, but something, there's also a forward movement. It's like there's no pit stops in this energy here per se, especially not then followed by the Eight of Wands. It's like even if you are sitting still, you know, there's so much moving around you. There's so many elements and moving parts, seen and unseen, that again you have zero control over. That the only thing you can do is hope for the best. It's kind of like just be ready for whatever, as the Knight of Wands would be. Like where it is that you might even feel like life is moving at an accelerated pace, but you still feel like you're in one place, standing still, because you can't see the motion. You know, the Knight of Wands, like I said, is prepared for anything at a moment's notice, or at a random call, opportunity. Like, this is the stay ready so you don't have to get ready type of energy. Always ready to um, jump into action, or go get a thing, or pursue a thing, or respond, react however they need to. Sometimes even proactively, but certainly reactively. So under the Eight of Swords, like I said, I feel like it's just confirmation that nobody's stuck, really. Like, you may be still, but you're not stuck. There's motion going on around you that's already kind of shifting, um, like shifting your reality, or even shifting the timeline in such a way that what I'm getting is like, it's kind of like, the world card's not out here, but like how we're on this planet, and as I'm sitting still right in this moment, you can't feel the revolution of um, what is it? It revolves around the sun, and what's the other word? The other R word, revolves around the sun, and it rotates, rotation and revolution. Yeah, it's like something is shifting here. How we can't feel the earth moving. We know that that's happening, especially if you look up. There it is again. Like, the sun is, changing positions. The moon is changing positions, and the skies, constellations are, you know what I mean. Like things are. Wait, constellations. Do we move around there? I don't know. I definitely would sound stupid if I finished that. But in terms of like the planets, like we're moving in multiple ways, rotating and revolving, you know, but you don't feel that. You don't even really notice that in your waking life, especially when you're perceiving it from your eye level view, like your human level view. So it's like, I don't know, I just feel like there's something here that even for those that may feel stuck or stagnant or, just like the motion is not real. Maybe it's really an expectation thing, that there's an expectation to have motion at a certain rate than what you may be experiencing. I'm just here to encourage and to um, comfort that a lot of things are happening, and I feel like what's going to happen is, like I said this in either the last message or the one before, about just kind of all of a sudden having this almost epiphany or awakening or realization, maybe even revelation with the judgment card here, that you are just in a completely different space and time, even though everything looks the same. Everything, maybe theoretically is the same. There's something that is shifting, um, that is already happening, and there's going to be a pivotal moment that affirms that. Like when like, oh shit, come on, man, I'm here. Like this is where we are now. All gas, no brakes. Like where once upon a time it may have seemed like a slow burn, or like again, loss after loss, grief ridden experiences or disappointments, where it may have felt like you were always in surrender to the elements or to some other power beyond yourself, um, that in some ways sometimes may not have felt very favorable or fortunate. It's like something's turning over. Um, Something's turning over, and it's. I feel like the Knight of Wands is an indication of like a fresh passion, an unbridled passion, lust for life. Again, in all the purest ways and the best ways. Not to be frivolous, not to be reckless, or impulsive to your detriment, but really just like being eager and um, excited about the new changes that are revealing themselves, sooner than later. Mm-hmm. All right, we got a couple more. And hell, some Five of Pentacles. Oh shoot. Oh Lord, not under the tower, Lord. Damn. Not the Five of Pennies. Hold on. I was gonna say some folks might be actually sleeping easier on account of some things that they've let go of. Perhaps even the need for control over your circumstances or over the circumstances. Yeah, you might find might strangely find yourself more at ease from having less control than you could have ever imagined you would, or being surprised, or uh, for things to take a turn that wasn't anticipated. Might bring some level of comfort and ease in a strange way. And I'm also feeling like there could be, maybe just kind of taking a load off, especially off the mind of, because the other thing about the strength card sometimes can be when you build up such a resilience, it almost can become like a shell, it can almost like harden you or make you a bit more callous because of the ways that you've had to defend yourself or assert yourself. So maybe it's something a bit more softer in store for some. Maybe not for all, but for some. And maybe I've been trying to really steer this in all the most positive veins, but there's some indications of some struggle here for sure, especially with this Five of Pentacles. But like I said, no matter what it is, you know, if it brings you down to the studs or the the what do you call it? Like like the studs is mostly what I hear, down to the foundation of you know your existence, even financially, which can be scary. There's still hope for rebuilding and build perhaps building in a way that is not going to be volatile. It's not going to be so um so easy to crumble, because it could even be. I also was thoughtful about passion, it not just being about love but passion. It could be like a readjustment of your passion so that you can be more properly realigned. And that could even be creatively or professionally, where you could come to a point of change that is like, whoa, didn't really didn't really expect this one. Um, but let's see what's on the other side of the Five of Pentacles. Oh shit! Now, really? Not black magic. That's where we're gonna end this for real. Here we go. 43. Got me scratching my head over here. I don't even know what to say. I mean, like I said, the energy is here. Uh, I guess the safest thing to say is that for those that, I mean, like you kind of know where you are, I believe. Like sometimes your surroundings, your circumstances may, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's like you know what resonates and what doesn't. And if anything, you know, if you've been investing energy, let's go back to this Five of Cups. If you've been one that's still stuck on the three cups that are spilled, that spilled milk um, result, then your tears are going to be invested um, in a way that amounts to ultimately like the most unfavorable experience. The least favorable experience, or less favorable experience than the best, if I can, maybe not the least. But if you're one that is able to kind of accept loss, accept change, maybe even um, accept grief and disappointments for exactly what they are, life experiences, then there's more hope for a brighter a brighter projection of presence, but this Five of Pentacles is saying that, like I said, there's some energies that are ultimately still going to be susceptible to being um to 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 being disenfranchised from their most ideal experience, um and that has a shock value all its own that maybe some have not prepared themselves for. There's something unnatural, let's say, about black magic here, if I can speak to that. There's something unnatural that some have um, devoted them spiritually, in a spiritual sense, if anything else, that some have attached themselves to, and that has a negative result. But if that ain't you, or you have overcome such things, or moved on, grown, or kind of gaining your footing on how to look forward to a more promising future, then this energy really to me is null and void. Five of Pentacles, black magic, it's not permeating to force fields that ultimately know who they are, where they stand, um, the value that they have to offer, and are ambitious enough and driven enough for the right things that they always have motion, even when they're sitting still, even when it looks like from the outside in, you know somebody might be stuck, or has no way out, or is unable to elevate or advance in a certain type of way. um, there would be a surprise, maybe even a rude awakening in some ways, as to just how progressive an energy in this particular frequency actually is, because it says that no matter what the circumstances, they could even look bleak. But somebody that's always ready, that doesn't have to get ready, is one that is prepared when opportunity presents itself. So on the other side of that, dismay, despair, maybe even misfortune, disenfranchisement, uh, whatever, even the things that were out of one's control, influences or infiltrations from outside. It's like you always ready to um, to jump into action when the divine presents the opportunity to do so. Not when anybody presents an opportunity, but when a divine opportunity presents itself. That's one that's unscathed by even the most surprise circumstances, or surprise shifts in their reality, because you're already ready for it. You're already prepared for the best and the worst in some sense, and everything in between. So I feel like that's the best way to kind of end that. Because I'm not going there. I'm not even with this Five of Pentacles like magic shit. It's like anybody that's been operating in that frequency, expelling unnatural energy toward anyone outside of themselves, anything, any place, is really their own worst enemy. So, that means, if with the Six of Cups, where I was saying, like, sometimes it can definitely be a caution of question what's coming in from the past, which is also what I could be what I'm being guided to say here. Like, if it is a matter of a revisit from the past, whatever that may be, person, place, or thing, discernment is definitely key, so that you don't find yourself, as I spoke about, a 30-year cycle that we're embarking upon, setting yourself up for failure for another 1, 2, 3 decades ahead that really was avoidable. but just because you may have allowed energies into your force field that really didn't earn their place to be there, you know. So yeah, just I mean, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir for anyone that's still here at this point because you already know that your associations can be infectious, you know, in one way or another. They certainly can be. So I wouldn't take anything for granted, especially when we're considering back to the beginning, the season at hand, the holiday on its way. Sometimes folks can get a little bit desperate, or just get a little bit more loose, a little more adventurous, to say the least, just because of the day. So don't entertain any propositions, invitations, um, any of that for damn well are not don't hold their value beyond the 14th. It's not worth just having a nice date or to be able to say you weren't at home alone or you weren't out with the girls or whatever or with the guys. Let me not leave that aspect out because Lord knows. Well, guys don't do that as much. I mean, they do, but not as much as ladies do. Ladies will entertain a date or a night out or hook up or whatever just because, just a one off type thing. But in this season, a one off type thing could be a setup for a season of misfortune in this case or entanglement at the very worst. And like not of the adventurous and fun kind per se after the initial experience. It might be good for one night delight, but it wouldn't be a good setup for the long run. So just be cautious of that, I guess, is the only way I can kind of curb that a little bit in terms of the holiday and stuff. You're worth so much more than that. Like you deserve, if nothing else, to hold out for that true Two of Cups type of energy, even Ace of Cups type of energy that um, is going to be worth it. That's really going to be fulfilling and nurturing and satisfying. Because ain't nothing worse when you have a one-off situation and it wasn't even satisfying, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so don't do it. Don't do it. It's some real sketchy energy out here that's looking for a good time, not for a long time, and looking for some relief, maybe redemption. You know what I mean? Quick, again, one night delight. It's out here. It's definitely out here. But if you stay the course and stay focused, you will skirt right past that energy and save yourself the heartbreak, right? Or the heartache. Yeah, Queen of Wands, and you know she ain't fucking around. Like what? If it ain't, if it's not greasing her wheels, she's good. She's pretty much good. Like not to say that Queen of Wands won't isn't good for an adventure, or new discoveries, but this is seasoned energy, and also with it being a feminine force, the idea is not just as a woman, man or woman, is to just be a bit more selective about who you share your energy with. Really being a bit conservative about with your passion. If nothing else, pour it all into you. What's one more Valentine's Day as a single gal with all of your sanity and confidence and security intact right where you left it, as opposed to kind of throwing it away to the wolves? Now, I'm not saying don't be open to something that is truly satisfying and fulfilling and forwarding and positive and promising. 'Tis a season for that too. But there's also the other end of that spectrum. And as the Queen of Wands, you would want to be you have the capacity to be um, quite sure about your choice, you know, quite bold and um, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like just validated in making strong choices unapologetically. The Queen of Wands doesn't really care how you feel about what she desires or what she chooses or doesn't. It's serving self first and foremost, in the highest frequency for the purposes of preserving self. You know? So let's see what else. Four of Cups. Yeah, exactly. Well, here it is. There's the Ace of Cups. But where's what else is here? That Three of Cups that was spilled at the very beginning. You know, now in the traditional one, of course, even here you can kind of get the same vibes. Like sometimes there's this resistance to the Ace of Cups, but for me, the way I'm reading it, it's like confidently again just being selective. That even if something is proposing itself to be like, I got what you need, I got what you want, I got the ace right here, baby. You ain't never going you know, you ain't never gonna feel like I'll make you feel, you know what I mean? Like I'll love you like nobody else will type energy. And it's like, will you? Will you though? I'll love you better than you love yourself. Now, traditionally, that is what the Ace of Cups is given. But in the vein of which this message is gone, it's just the fact that if it's not absolutely that, it's not worth taking a chance on. If it's not actually something divine, actually something worth um, worth sharing yourself with, then it's a no thank you. It's a no go. You know? So anyway, yeah, Queen of Wands, because it's like Queen of Wands can have hella dates. She's sexy most of the time. You know, the Queen of Wands is usually the most likely to be single of all the other queens, but she's also selective. She ain't just taking any old thing. And as a queen, you're also not going to be charmed by your lust either, or by the lust of anyone else. So even if it does present itself to be attractive, man, woman, opportunity, place, invitation, I just heard occupation, so there's that too. Proposition. It might even sound like a good time, but if it doesn't pass the smell test, whatever that you know criteria or standard is for you, hopefully a high one, you know, you leave it right where it is, right where it is. Because look at this guy with his hand with that green coming off of it. Imagine that energy trying to fill all up over you, transferring all of that frequency into your good vibes and leaving it there. You know what I mean? Like it's a scary situation, and all these cards are everywhere. Like the drama of it all, they're everywhere. Not really, but I wish I could have ended a little bit more straight. But that's all. If it ain't the ace, if it's not a divine opportunity, a divine alignment is what it comes down to, then it ain't worth the time. It just ain't. Not even for February 14th. Make your own dinner, watch your own movie, you know, get your toes and nails done, get you a massage, whatever's clever to make you feel good. Dress up cute for your damn self if you want to. And trust me, you'll be better for it. You'll be better for it to have avoided any type of energy that would just, deplete what you have ultimately um, cultivated within yourself or for yourself. And that's for men and women, by the way. Nobody is left out. All right. And for those that have any intentions otherwise to be diabolical or anything, it's like I said, you're doing too much, and you're ultimately going to fall by fall victim to the destruction that you're looking to create. It's immediate backfires and repercussions with this judgment card here. There's that. Don't say I didn't warn you. All right. Thank you for listening and watching. So much for a love reading. Take it as you will. Um, we'll try again maybe on the actual 14th or maybe tomorrow. I'll see how I feel. But either way, I'm grateful for you. I love you. If nobody else has told you, you are worthy of divine love if you don't accept mine, um, and unconditional love at that. Uh, and I hope that you receive it. Contrary to that Four of Cups, traditionally, I hope that you receive it in the highest frequency that you can perceive it. All right. Until next time, as always, I leave you with